Hello, hello. Welcome to the Apollo webinar, Social Selling 101. This is going to be a good webinar. I'm excited for it. A couple of quick things to cover before we get started here. We're going to do some housekeeping at the start. I'll introduce the host. You know me, but I'm going to introduce a guest host today that's going to be bringing the majority of the value, Zoe, and I'll introduce her in a second. We're going to cover why LinkedIn, what's the opportunity for your business. Majority of this is going to be Social Selling 101 host with our guest host, Zoe. And then we're going to show you how to tie it all together in Apollo in ways that most people don't do. I think you're going to really like it. Really simple, nice way to pull it all through. And there's going to be Q&A at the end, of course. So again, this is the Apollo webinar. Welcome, Mastering Social Selling on LinkedIn. And there's a tremendous opportunity if you're looking to help your business, you're selling. I think you're in the right place. So again, I'm James O'Sullivan, the people sales instructor, but I think the person we care more about today, the person that's going to be leading Social Selling 101 is Zoe Hartsfield. If you follow her on LinkedIn, you know she posts lots of good stuff. And you may have seen the fact that she was the self-proclaimed, I think it's proven, she told me, world's worst SDR. And through social selling alone, she was able to build a multi-million-dollar pipeline. And she's going to be not only communicating what she did there, but everything she's learned since then. I think we all realize our business would probably be doing better if we went from barely any followers and connections to 30, 40, or 50,000 of them. Zoe's going to give you a roadmap on how to do that. So let's get started with this. Why LinkedIn? What's the opportunity? We all use it, but most of us aren't really doing what Zoe's doing here. We're not really capitalizing on social selling. So why? What's the opportunity? What are we missing? Only 1% of users are actively creating content on LinkedIn. And if you look at the numbers, it's been like a gold mine for them because they get 9 billion impressions a week. The other 99% of us, I'm in that 99%, we're not in that mix at all. So there's 1% of users capturing tons of attention. And when you're social selling, there's a lot of benefits, subtle stuff that will help you make your own luck, but stuff that also just builds your pipeline in the short term. But you humanize yourself. You better understand your prospects. They better understand you. Maybe they're coming to you specifically because of what they've read. They feel like they know you. It warms things up, establishes credibility. It allows you to create outbound and inbound opportunities. I think we both like that. And if you look at the data, I put a couple of them up here, but the folks that are actively social selling, where it's intentionally part of their sales mix, they do better. And they, almost all of them say it's a dramatic impact to their numbers before and after. So what is social selling? In case you're confused on that term, like, is it going on LinkedIn and posting stuff, or going on TikTok, those folks that swipe through different products really quickly? But it's using LinkedIn intentionally, consistently, and putting yourself out there a little bit. So it's strategic connection requests and maxing those out, right? Commenting, posting, liking other people's stuff and engaging with them there, building your brand and authority. So again, you'll see all the benefits in multiple different ways. And I think this is the most important slide here because I think there's opportunity to identify some gaps even before this social selling thing, and to show you how much you can level up your sales going into the back half of this year. But the best sellers follow up and diversify their outreach. This is data from Apollo users breaking down how they use the platform, what they're doing. These are cohorts based on how they use the platform and their success with booking meetings, their meeting book rate. The folks that just go in and get data, right? They're working at onesie twosie, no real system. By and large, are spending the most amount of time for the least amount of results. Whereas the folks setting up sequences, starting to be more intentional, starting to put leads together by common characteristic, that sort of thing, you start to see 3x, 4x, 5x the results. But the people booking the most meetings right now, 2024, are the people that are following up 4, 5, 6 times. And they're diversifying that follow-up. They're not just sending cold emails. They're calling. They're sending video messages, voice notes. I still do handwritten notes to my best leads, or carrier pigeon, whatever it is. They're coming at their prospects from different angles, giving themselves the best chance to get access to their attention. And that's one of the things you do with social selling. You're getting access to folks' attention, setting yourself up for success today, but also in the future. So what are all the reasons we don't do it? I've been telling myself I was going to do this probably about 10 years now. And at least for me, and I think other folks, a lot of times you keep putting it off or it gets deprioritized. Part of the reason is I think you're not going to see immediate results today. So it doesn't go into the urgent have to do category. But a lot of times we're just making excuses to cover up our fear, right? Fear, uncertainty, doubt. Like, what will my connections think? Am I going to look stupid? Is it too early? Do I have enough credibility? Do I have too much credibility? I'm going to look desperate posting all this stuff on LinkedIn. Where do I begin? What if I look dumb? Do I even have anything interesting to share? All these things I think they pop in most of our heads at some point, right? We want to think it through. But what I like so much about this, and I've had the benefit of going through some of it with Zoe already, she's going to give us a roadmap so we can remove a lot of these. She's going to show you the success she had, the impact. So, there's credibility behind it. There's a value there behind doing it. And then she's going to simplify getting started. And I think it's one of those things when you just create the habit over a month, you'll find it sticking. You're going to see some benefits and you want to keep moving with it. Let's get into the meat of this. This is going to be Zoe's Social Selling 101. Again, afterwards, we're going to tie it all together. There'll be Q&A and Zoe will be here for that. But thank you for joining us today, Zoe.
Amazing. Appreciate you, James. Thanks for that
welcome.
Very kind introduction. And thank you all for having me today. I am committed to bringing you the most tactical content I possibly can about LinkedIn and social selling. But before I jump into everything, why should you give me the next 19 minutes of your day to hear me chat about LinkedIn? Like, why are you even here? I just want to tell you, LinkedIn fundamentally changed my career and ultimately my life. I mean, 3 years ago, I had, like 200 connections. I was a brand new baby SDR, kind of struggling to make ends meet, just in reality in the back end of my life, and software sales. And LinkedIn was an absolute slingshot for my income, my professional career, and also my personal development. And a year and a half after I started to social sell, I made my first 5-figure month of side income. I was being invited to speak at events like SaaStr Annual. As James mentioned, I generated 7-figure pipeline for my company and was generating 5 to 6 inbound opportunities per month just from, organic content passively on LinkedIn. And I don't gatekeep, so I'm just going to tell you everything I possibly could distill about why I had success and why it was repeatable today. So give me 19 minutes of your time and I promise to make it worth your while. But first things first, what's in it for you? Why should you consider, social selling, baking it into your sales strategy? There's a bunch of reasons. There's so many benefits to social selling and building a brand, including but not limited to making it way easier to book demos, getting invited onto podcasts or in-person speaking engagements, never really needing to worry about your next job. I like to call this employment insurance. Having a deeper, broader network, finding peers and mentors to learn from, building pipeline, and ultimately having a personal brand that's your own is going to follow you throughout your career. You get to take it with you. So as much as I'm currently continuing to build my personal brand at Apollo, I started building my brand at a company called BombBomb. I took it to Dooley. I took it to Speckit. I've got it here. I'll take it with me wherever I go next. So start building your brand today. This is going to benefit you throughout the remainder of your career. And why does this work? Like, what about this is so effective? Ultimately, your personal brand is the foundation of a really good social selling strategy, because the reality is, as much as we hate it, visibility precedes ability. You can be the absolute best at what you do. And if no one knows your name, how the heck are they ever going to find you? How are they going to buy from you? Similarly, I could have less talent, I could be less gifted, I could be less effective than you, but if I'm good enough, if I know my stuff, if I'm visible, and I've built some trust with my audience, the likelihood of me beating you in a competitive sales situation simply because people see me and know me, and I'm familiar, is very, very high. So I'll win 8 out of 10 times on that alone, based on the statistics we see about the effectiveness of social selling. So let's make sure your buyer knows exactly who you are. And first things first, that means we really need to clean up your LinkedIn profile. Some of you, this may be old hat. Some of you, this may be brand new, but I'm going to run through some quick tips about how to update and maximize and optimize the value of your LinkedIn profile. Think of it as a landing page for the business that is you. It's an extension of the company that you work for, but ultimately people are going to your profile to see you. And I'm really going to fly through this because James and I actually recorded a very thorough teardown that you can go watch on YouTube. It's in that resource kit in the docs section. So go check it out. There's also a checklist that you can follow along with and go step by step as you watch the video, go through your own profile, pause, make those edits based on the feedback that I give James in real time. And it's going to help you a lot. But high level, first thing you want to do is edit your URL. This is a really tiny change, but it's going to make you look a lot more professional and put together. Instead of first.last 29347098831, It can be anything you want. I recommend a variation of your name, but I've got plenty of friends who use, like their company name or a clever phrase as well. It's a very small change. It makes you look more legit. Next, your profile should really be of you. I know it's tempting to have like a family photo, or maybe it's like you on top of a mountain because you climbed a big 14er. Ultimately, people are coming to your profile because you sent them a DM or they saw a post of you or something like that. They want to see who you are. Who is this person that's reaching out to me? Who is this person whose content I'm engaging with? And if they can't see your face, it makes you look a little bit more suspicious. So I would just make sure, shoulders up, pretty plain background, sounds really boring. It's very, very effective. You don't want it to be distracting. And your banner photo shouldn't be left blank. LinkedIn has some templated stuff. You can make something for free in Canva. Your company might have some branded banner photos, but just don't leave it blank. Next, your headline really needs to answer 2 questions for me. Who are you? Who do you help? It can be as clever or as crystal clear and straightforward as you want, but you just want to make sure you're answering those questions. Who are you? Who do you help? And finally, your about and experience section. This is probably the part that people get wrong the most. A lot of times I'll see people copy and paste like a company boilerplate here. Again, people are landing on your profile because they want to know who you are. This is an opportunity to tell your story. So maybe skip the company pitch and talk about the value, the impact you've brought. It wouldn't be great if all I had in my about section was Apollo's boilerplate, because people came to figure out who is Zoe at Apollo, not just Apollo. They can get to Apollo through me, but they want to know who I am. So instead, there's a story about the value I bring, the impact I've driven at past organizations, and how I bring value to Apollo today. So remember, people are coming to your profile either to recruit you, to try and sell you something, or because they want to buy from you. So make it undeniable who you are, and it's going to save you and them a lot of time. Moving on. Oh yeah, really quick. Again, that teardown that I did with James and the checklist, as well as a personal brand identity framework, which we will touch on a little bit later in this presentation, is in that doc section. So don't forget it. All right. So you've optimized your profile. People know who you are. They've found you. That's step 1, or really step 0, foundation. Step 1 then is, how do we start engaging with and connecting with and truly building a network? You need a network to sell to. That's the reality of it. When people get started on LinkedIn, they think that the key to building a brand is by starting and creating and posting a bunch of original content, but that's actually a couple steps down the line. The reality is we earn the conversations in private from the conversations that we have in public. The real secret sauce to building a brand is going to be engaging with the community via comments and connections. So we're going to talk about that. You have to think about it like, who am I really connecting with, and how am I meaningfully engaging with that network that I'm building? So as I mentioned, the 2 most important components are going to be engagement, and that is connection and comments. Who in the world should we be sending connection requests to? And why should we send connection requests? Well, first of all, when you become one-to-one connected with someone, they become a part of your direct network. Think like a friend on Facebook or a mutual follow on Instagram. It creates a closer proximity. It makes it so that you can one-to-one DM. And really, you don't want to have to spend in-mail credits every single time those land in a different inbox. They're not as effective. Being one-to-one connected with someone so you can closely follow their content and directly message them is going to become invaluable to you as you progress through your social selling journey. It's just going to make it a lot easier to actually engage. Again, first-degree connection puts that person in closer virtual proximity to you, which makes it easier to engage with them, to help them, to sell to them. So who should I connect with? I always recommend a split of peers, prospects, and potential mentors. And people are like, but Zoe, what split is best? You get 100 connection requests per week before they max out, and then they refill again the next week. So I split these 100 down the middle, half going to prospects because I'm in sales, I'm trying to sell to people, and half going to peers and potential mentors. I think that there's a lot to be gleaned from building your network and curating your feed with valuable content. My LinkedIn feed is literally how I leveled up my career. Fun fact, I didn't have any training or enablement at my company, I learned most of what I know about selling today from folks like Sarah Brazier, Sam McKenna, Morgan Ingram, posting on LinkedIn. So I think it is an incredible sales tool, LinkedIn, but don't sleep on the mind share that it has to offer. And finally, let's talk about how to connect. Since you only have 100 connections, you kind of have to use them wisely. I either keep a note short and sweet, or I actually leave it out altogether unless I have a direct intro or something really, really relevant to share. Please, for the love of all that is good, do not pitch slap people. When you send a pitch in your connection note, the likelihood of people just denying you or even blocking you goes way, way, way up. Remember, you earn those conversations in private. You have not earned the right to sell yet when you are sending a connection request. Also, just a quick pro tip, a lot of people don't know this. If you send a connection request and it's pending for a really long time, somebody hasn't accepted it, you can actually withdraw it and try again. So like if you sent a note and they didn't respond, you could withdraw it and then try it again with no note. Just know you cannot resend it for 3 weeks. So you have to wait a minute and then you can resend. This has actually worked for me a couple of times. When I've sent a note and they didn't respond, I sent another one with no note and they did, or vice versa. Sent no note, no response, sent a note with more research and relevance and they responded. And if you're like me, and you're like, how do I know that note versus no note works? I'm somebody who really likes data. I like proof. Here's the data from back when I was a rep, but I've also run this experiment more recently, like in the last 6 months, and the data is very, very similar. If I had a 1-1 intro to a really close mutual connection, I would put a personalized note, and that gets me a connection 7 out of 10 times. But those are rare that you have that much connection and relevance. And by then that person usually is aware of you. You're basically being 1-to-1 introed by that mutual connection. Most connections went out cold when I was a seller. And in the case of a cold connect, no note got me a 43% accept rate and a templated short, very assumptive note that was like, hey, John, looking forward to connecting, Zoe. That got me just shy of 30% acceptance. But experiment for yourself. The numbers aren't going to lie. I'm giving you a starting point because I tested this myself, but try for yourself and see. And bonus. This is something I highly recommend. It was really effective for me. I can't tell you how many meetings I booked off of this. Always send a thank you note. Just something super quick. It can be a note. It can be a voice note. It could be a video. I used to send an evergreen video that was literally me waving to the camera saying, hey, John, thank you so much for accepting my connection request. Really looking forward to following along with your content. Don't be a stranger. Reach out anytime. I probably sent out a couple thousand of those during my time as an SDR. And it was really, really effective. Sam McKenna actually uses an interesting trick where she changes the phrasing based on if somebody connected with her versus if she proactively connected with them. So when she goes back and references the conversation later, she can know who started that conversation. Lots of different ways you can do this. But say thank you and try and avoid using those in-mails. That's why we want to be 1-to-1 connected. All right. So once you're connected, what the heck do you do? Well, this is when you're going to start engaging. I would recommend for top thought leaders or high value prospects, people you are like, these are my top accounts. I want to be on top of what they are doing, what they're saying. You're looking for that relevance. You're finding research. You are trying to get in front of them and have something meaningful to say. Ring the bell on their profile. That's going to notify you and make sure that their content shows up at the top of your feed when they post. It's going to make it really easy for you to engage, which is going to make you more visible. It's also going to give you context for what they're thinking about, what they're talking about. It's going to give you ammunition for when you send that cold email, that cold DM, and ask to help them with a problem that they're facing, because you may just find out what problems they're facing as they're posting. And so let's talk about engagement. Let's talk about commenting, because there are definitely quite a few do's and don'ts. I'm sure all of us have seen a bad comment before. For starters, this is what a bad comment looks like. Short, generic, adds basically no value, neat job, or nice post really doesn't do anything. And the algorithm recognizes those comments and kind of suppresses them. It'll push them down. Comments are sorted by relevance. And so it's going to be ordered based on how much value did this person add to the conversation. Quick tip, things like questions and insights are the best things to add. It should be no less than 4 words. If you add like 50 links in a comment, LinkedIn will kind of like recognize it as spam. So maybe keep any links you add to one. But here are just a couple best practices you can take a look at and consider for yourself as you're thinking about engaging in the comments. And the most effective comments are actually threads. This is why I really encourage people to ask questions, because it gets the author to then respond, and then hopefully you can respond to them. That will then boost it in that relevance part of the algorithm, where you'll see that threads are always the top comments on any post, regardless of the content. And so now you've connected with people, you're maxing out your connections, you're engaging with people, you're commenting, you're starting conversations. What's next? Well, now it's time to post some original content. And you can build an entire brand and reputation just by commenting, by the way. You never ever have to create original content if you don't want to. But something that's nice about commenting is at some point you're going to be adding thoughts and value to someone else's content and realize, I bet I could spin up this thought into my own post. And that like thought you're having is absolutely true. You absolutely can, and you should. So let's talk about that. But first, let's talk about the obvious objection. What if only 2 people like it? The stage fright. I've heard countless times, but Zoe, what if no one likes my post? And if nobody likes your post, to be honest, amazing. Nobody saw it. The way the LinkedIn algorithm works is that engagement actually begets engagement. So the more people are engaging with your content, the algorithm is going to serve your content to wider audiences. Posts with very little engagement likely weren't seen by very many people. So you can actually rework that thought and try again. And as far as imposter syndrome goes, because I know that's a really big one, the reality is you're the expert in your own experience. No one is more qualified to talk about what you know and what you've learned than you. You don't have to write a playbook on how the average Joe can make $1 million online if you don't know how to do that. Just tell people a win you had, or a strategy that worked for you, or a lesson you learned because the strategy did not work for you, and how you're going to do it differently the next time. How I did content performs so much better than how you should content all day long. And that's going to give you just an easier starting point. So let's talk really quickly about a personal brand framework. Anytime I'm talking to somebody about writing content for the first time, we talk about a personal brand framework. Who am I? Who do I help? And that's going to start with key topics. What are the 3 to 5 things you want to be known for? What are the 3 to 5 things I want to go to Zoe for advice on? Those should be the topics that you're always coming back to. And then you want to know who you're speaking to. That's almost more important than what you're speaking about, because who you're speaking to really changes the tone of the conversation. I would recommend that you pick 2 to 3 personas. And where I would start, if you're not sure, is pick a prospect persona, pick a peer persona, and pick a past version of yourself. Those are going to be the 3 people that are the easiest for you to speak to because of your area of genius and expertise. And then finally, tone. This is just going to help you stay consistent when you're writing content and make sure that you sound the same. We talk about writing like you talk. How do you talk? Kind of think through, what are my tone words? Mine are like sarcastic and helpful and self-deprecating a little bit, but always trying to be knowledgeable and supportive and encouraging. I'm not critical. I'm not, there are words that I wouldn't associate with myself. And this personal brand framework is going to be the lens that you look through to create any content. It's going to create brand consistency. It's also really going to help you on a day when you're like, I have no idea what to write. Pick a topic, pick an audience member, make sure you're hitting your tone words. You're good to go. And again, you are the expert in your own experience. Share your experience over your accomplishments. Saying, I booked 10,000 demos is not as helpful as, I booked 3 to 5 demos using this hack. I'm breaking it down for you step by step. Steal it. And now that you have your framework, there are some best practices you can think about in terms of adding value. But really, you want to know who you're speaking to. Again, prospects, end users, past versions of yourself is a great place to start. Topics that you're passionate about. This is a really good one when you're thinking about social selling and generating inbound, talking about the problems your prospects face on a regular basis. You're probably pretty much an expert in that, because the reality is, how your product solves, your service solves the problems that your prospects are facing. So talk about them. It's going to build trust. It's going to build authority. And then again, write like you talk. If you don't sound like it, don't say it. It's really helpful if I read your content for 2 weeks and then met you in person. Am I going to say, oh, you're exactly who I thought you were? Or would you come across completely differently? You just want to be you. And then finally, here's a couple tips as you're thinking about starting to write content. These are in no particular order. Break out long text posts for skimmability. If you've seen those line by line posts, they look really bananas. It's because it makes it a lot easier to read. Use a variety of mediums. Try text, try photo, try polls, try carousels. Stay consistent. This is going to be the most important thing. You don't have to post every single day, 5 times a day. But if you can post every week on a Tuesday, your audience will start to create a rhythm with you and know to expect content from you. And that's actually really going to help the algorithm. And finally, keep a running doc of ideas. So that way you aren't having to wake up at 6 a.m. every day and think, what am I supposed to write today? This is actually a screenshot, like a real screenshot of a note in my phone. Sometimes I get ideas at 2 in the morning and jot them down like through my blurry eyes. This post actually turned into, in a world where you could be anything, be coachable. So snuggling was no part of it. But I got 150,000 impressions and it started as this unhinged brain dump in my notes app. So a running doc of ideas is going to help you stay consistent. It doesn't matter where you keep them, docs, your phone, on a piece of paper, just have one. And so now that we've talked about optimizing your profile, you know how to connect, we know how to engage, we've got some ideas to create some original content. These are really the building blocks of social selling and personal brand. Let's put it into practice. For the next 90 days, I'm challenging you all to a 15 by 3 by 1. So 15 minutes, time block it 3 times a week. It's going to be less than an hour of your time. You do 20 minutes if you're an overachiever. You're going to max out your connections every week, leave 5 thoughtful comments during those time blocks, and 1 day a week, you are going to post 1 original thought, 1 original post. So drop in the chat if you are up for this challenge. If you're somebody who's like, oh, I think I'm going to try this, because I'm going to go and hand this back over to James. But I really want to see like who's down for it. And I would encourage you to screenshot your metrics today and take a look at how many demos you're booking through LinkedIn today. And in 90 days, let's take a look and see how those numbers have improved, because I guarantee you they're going to improve. And now that we have that social selling foundation, James is going to walk us through how to take our connections from LinkedIn and turn them into pipeline in Apollo.
Thank you, Zoe. That was wonderful. And I really liked ending with this. I'm going to be doing Zoe's LinkedIn challenge. So if you're thinking about it, want to join me, I think the hard part here is posting once a week and feeling like it's good, but I'm going to go for it anyways over the next 2 months. Thank you, Zoe. That was great.